We are back, vlog number 14 or 43 altogether. Little delay because I'm banned on social media and I had a bit of sore throat yesterday, so I couldn't really make a video. Anyway, so I'm gonna touch up on what I'm doing, what's happening, and then gonna answer some questions what I've been asked. And truth be told, I checked myself on 3 different scales now, and turns out the ones I got at home must be absolutely fudged. Because I am definitely at least 120 kilos. My scales keep showing me completely different number every single time I step on them, every single time I move them slightly. And that's probably why I'm struggling lately to sleep, because I'm just an obese mess. So, to reflect on that, I had resting heart rate of at 54 or 52, something like that. And over last week or so, it has gone to 64, which is massive difference. I feel absolutely trash. I don't recover anywhere near as good. So I need more rest days. I'm doing a sports massage twice a week now. I'm doing chiropractor every 2 weeks at least. I feel very solid because I am on week, I believe 17 or 18, 13. Week 14 next week on my current phase, just to rebuild my joint integrity, strength, endurance, all those kind of things. And I'm definitely fittest at my body weight. So yes, I am larger than I should be by any medical terms in link to health and whatnot. My blood tests were great anyway, and I'm much fitter. I can definitely do things I couldn't do a few weeks ago without much of a thought. So now some of my training sessions don't change at all. So I have 2 training sessions a week, which is just pure conditioning, calisthenics and things like that, and strength endurance of them, or so-called stamina, has definitely improved massively. That's something I'm going to talk about as well. So extra rest days these couple of weeks. Last week I had extra rest day. This week I'm having 3 extra rest days. Next week I will be training just twice. Only to prepare myself for a final push, which will be 5 weeks training every single day, apart from weekend. So I'm going to be training 5 days on, 2 days off. Then reassess everything, peak myself. We'll see, maybe add some kind of supplements, but everything is working well so far. So I'm bouncing up and down at the moment with what I do in my head, what I could do, but in reality, I'm not changing much anyway. Someone actually messaged me about, look, if you're not recovering, you should be taking insulin, growth hormone, this and that, million other things. And I appreciate people listening to watching these videos, but truth be told, drugs won't solve anything if you don't sleep and eat and rest properly. Like, you can take million things and you will end up like most of these so-called bodybuilders now. They're just dropping dead left, right and center. Who was the guy who dropped dead before Mr. Olympia from blood pressure issues? How fucking thick you must be if you're a professional bodybuilder and don't check your blood pressure. Like, what the fuck you playing at? Just, seriously. So yeah, I'm not doing it, and I don't have a need for it unless I can justify something like that, where my sleep is perfect, my nutrient intake is perfect, my timing of food and everything like that. Then I'm not gonna go for that. Yeah, drugs work, they work amazing, but at the same time, they cause hell of a lot of stress on your body. And if your body is already at like a brink of breaking down, pushing more stuff in just to push over that breaking point is just irresponsible. So yeah, I'm never gonna do that. So it's just not gonna work. More reasonable is for me to pull back. I am heaviest I've been in a very long time. I'm fittest I have been in God knows how many years. I have no injuries, nothing. I can move well. I can train hard. I can, like my working sets will be 140 kilo bench presses for sets of 15, 20 reps. I don't need to be any bigger and stronger. It's just how much bigger and stronger you can get. It's just pointless. But at the same time, I'm kind of making sure that I do make progress in different areas. So when I will end this phase of my training, then I will see what I am willing to do next. Because I have a lot of seminars booked in that I will not be able to train as efficiently as I do now, where I can literally plan my things around. And what I mean by seminars booked, those seminars are 4 to 7 days long. They are not 1 day sitting or something like that. So I need to be very kind of precise with my nutrition recovery and my periodization around those things. And some of them will be very close, like every 4 weeks or so. So I actually got a phone call tonight, just make sure all the dates are finalized and whatnot. So yeah, that's on my side. Is it? I kind of felt that I might need a bit more food, but while stepping on those scales, I feel like I need to pull back on my food. They actually look leaner than I was expecting at this body weight. I was expecting to weigh less by the way I look, and that's not a bad thing. But like I said, I've never really obsessed with body weight. I just couldn't care less. As long as I feel good, which I do at the moment, I've never felt so good at this body weight. Which is a win, which was the goal to begin with. So, touching up on conditioning, something that I really kind of try to drill into everyone. You need to get fitter, you need to be able to do what you're doing. So, there are 4 different phases. So you have your endurance, which is just doing cardiovascular work, which is just being able to walk a lot. So last year, I went to see one of my friends down south, and soon we realized that I can walk for hours without food. Like hours and hours and hours. And I don't mean like 1-2 hours. I can walk all day without stopping for food. My body is used to that. Because of where I come from, oftentimes I would eat breakfast and then don't eat day at all. Train, go to school, God knows what else, like 16 hours without any food and still go to gym and train and be stupidly strong. For my body weight, for my age, for everything. It was something that stuck to me, and why I kind of try to drill in everyone that strength training is not related to food. It's related to actually doing things that you need to do to get stronger. So you need that endurance just to do things without burning out. Then another is stamina. It's your ability to move, to kind of be as close as you can to an aerobic threshold, which is where your muscles start to get sore and pumped up, and when you can't move because of the pain that lactic acid creates. So your stamina is working as close as you can to that point. This is what I'm building up now. This is why this training phase is extremely important for me. When I'm going to transition to hypertrophy, I will be able to work at higher anaerobic threshold and recover quicker from that, to go from set to set instead of blowing out of my ass in between sets. And a lot of guys, for example, have noticed that have the issue of maintaining their strength from set to set. They will do, I'm just making up numbers now, dumbbell press with 40 kilos, and next set, if they are not resting at least 5 minutes, they will have to drop at least 10 kilos on that set, which is just ridiculous. Which means your ability to replenish glycogen and restore the energy in the muscle is pathetic. So, and it's not good. That means your training sessions are much longer. Now you have far less time to recover. You have far less time to eat, sleep, just go about your day. So this is why someone like Dorian Yates could train 45-50 minutes a day, and people go like, oh, that's impossible. Dude was extremely physically fit, like ridiculously. He used to run like 12 miles and all those kind of things before he even started bodybuilding. So he was aerobically built to build tissue, which if you actually speak to most of the guys who are strongest on planet, they don't realize themselves that before they went into strength training, they were extremely fit. They were playing rugby, football, basketball, doing some cage fighting, you name it. Something that was extremely taxing already on their cardiovascular health, that helped them to build lean muscle tissue much quicker than anyone else, because they could do this repetitive work much more frequently, because they were having the ability to recover. Then you have this economy phase, which is being able to elicit extreme amounts of power with extremely, how can I even explain that? By not spending too much energy on it. You know, doing your 1 RM and then feeling fresh after that. Whereas a lot of people now do their heaviest set and they are so fatigued afterwards. Like I said, they have to rest 5, 10, 15 minutes at a time. It's not good. And then, which is speed phase, and all these need to be trained in completely different ways. So it's developing, like basically strength training, ability to be powerful for more than just 1 rep, maybe 2, 3, 4 reps, not much, a lot, but you'll see some people who are extremely fit can do that, and a lot of people who are not, they can't. So it's very prominent in strongmen. Like people who have had this ability to recover between sets will always go further than someone who just never have trained that. Bright example is Martin Schlietz. Is like he has done calisthenics all his life, and his training sessions are completely different. And when he goes from event to event to event, he's always in the top. There is not a single event that is just so fatigued he can't do it, because he's worked on his strength, endurance, and then speed and economy and all those things. He has worked in different rep ranges, different rest periods. I do believe he might have had some input from my friend Andy Triana, just absolute fucking genius when it comes to physiology. So these things matter, and time to snap out of this bullshit that cardio kills gains. It kills absolutely fucking nothing. You are actually far less able to build lean muscle tissue if your resting heart rate is higher than lower. Because the higher your resting heart rate is, that means you have far higher energy demands. Even if you are same amount of body weight, someone with higher resting heart will need more nutrients to just survive. But that means those nutrients are there just to tick you over, instead of rebuilding your tissue, instead of recovering, instead of preparing you for next training session. So you're just wasting so much time and energy by being absolutely fucking moron and not doing 10, 15, 20 minutes of cardio a couple times a week. Stop doing that. You're holding yourself back from results. It's just fucking stupid. Anyway, we gotta move from there onto some questions. I'm not gonna drag these as long as I usually do. But yeah, so I just go randomly. I haven't prepared anything, as I usually don't really prepare anything. I just thought I got a book about heart rate training. I'm going to touch on that a bit more. Favorite pastime outside the gym, not gym related. Well, I don't know. I like walking in just some kind of scenic things. Peak District, you name it. Not sure how non-gym related it is. But yeah, so generally, I like reading books. I've always liked reading books. I actually had eye issues when I was a kid, eye infection, because I was reading books when I was like sitting next to a window and just getting light from moonlight. Bear in mind, I was living back home, so oftentimes you didn't even have electricity, and that was it. So in a day you were working, and at night you were reading. And it was cool. So no TV, no nothing like that, nothing to entertain me with. And I was reading so many books. I wish I knew how many books I have read in my life. And obviously those books in early stages, they were nothing about like scientific or whatnot. It was all about just creativity and whatnot. So a lot of folklore tales and just very kind of broad things. Rather than learning specific subject, it was more about just reading and enjoying the creativity it develops in your brain. So I've still stuck to it. Now and then I'll play PlayStation. So that's another thing that's probably unrelated to gym at all. But yeah, I do like walks in the sun on a beach. Not going to happen anytime soon, is it? So can you improve fitness while using vape pen? I replied that on last video. Go back on my previous vlog, or was it 2 vlogs before? I do believe it probably comes from the same person, so I already replied on that. Better reply to my memes. Yeah, I always reply to your memes. They are horrendous, dude. What's wrong with you? Anyway, so training frequency for weight loss for or us mere humans. Well, this needs to be more specific. For weight loss, you don't need to train. You just need to eat less. As simple as it gets. For fat loss, I would say optimally 3 times a week. You don't need more than that. As long as you have sufficient training plan in place. At the same time, right, I need to redefine this. So I don't class conditioning days as training. I don't class going on a walk as training. I don't class doing 10-15 minutes of calisthenics a day as training. So, and it's sad, if you can't find 15 to 20 minutes a day just for yourself to move to the point where your heart rate changes a bit, there's an issue that needs to be addressed. Every single person should find at least a day, at least an hour a day for themselves. If you have kids, wife, businesses, I don't give a fuck. If you don't spend time with yourself, you're gonna break down. It's simple as, why we feel refreshed and so on after holidays, because we have spent time away from anxiety and all those kind of things. And if you just go all 100% every single day, it's gonna lead nowhere. Same with your full day. If you can't find 15-20 minutes of your day just for yourself, it's not gonna end up well. You're not gonna get much done, and never mind enjoying it. And that's when stress builds up and insomnia builds in, and your inability to respond to nutrients properly, not to your training, and so on and so forth. So if you can't find 15-20 minutes a day to do something physically active, that's sad. But when it comes to I probably get that question was, what's the optimal training frequency to actually look good, not just lose weight? Then I would say 3 times a week is more than enough. Absolutely. Like, I have a lot of guys doing just 3 training sessions a week, and then 2-3 times a week they jump on a bike or go for a more or less challenging walk. Guys who have families, I always encourage them, just go on a beach, kick some ball, or get your kids to woods, or design some bloody games with them and do that. When I was a kid, we had I was living in a house, and in summer we would have some people coming over. So it was like 12 apartment block in the middle of nowhere. There's no one else around. So in all those 12 apartments, 2 or 3 would have some kind of kids coming over in summer, and then with those kids would come their parents as well. So the parents of the kids would live in those block apartments, and then in summers they would come over, and we would get taught games. And we would play hell of a lot of games all summer through, work in the daytime, and then at night we would kick a ball or do a hell of a lot of different things, and that's challenging. That's you could incorporate that in your training. A lot of people don't do anything like that now because they have iPads and just throw kids on TV and whatnot. You just chill. But when it comes to gym, 3 times a week is more than enough. Do 3 times full body, get out of here. If all you are concerned about is just looking great, you really don't need more than that. If you want to really push your limits and be ridiculously big, ridiculously lean, ridiculously strong, yeah, you might need 4. No more than that, really. But yeah, it's more about how efficient your plan is rather than how often you do it. Everything is so advanced at the moment that you can really adjust to anything. And oftentimes than not, for someone like that, it would be a good idea to have different style of nutritional approach in your training and your rest days, and that's about it. It's not about training frequency, but yeah, just go with that. Ideal percentage of 1 rep max for hypertrophy and strength gains. There isn't one. There really isn't one. You need to figure out what you can do. In terms of strength training, you can't work on high percentages if your joint integrity is compromised. You can't work on high percentages if your stamina is not there. You can't work on high percentages if you're not experienced. Working on low percentages all the time will just do your head in. Working on low percentages too often will take away from the stimulus that's needed to develop speed, which is important for strength development, and so on and so forth. Hypertrophy, you can literally work on bloody whatever the hell you want. You see guys who work on very low percentage and they have really good results. Brandon Curry, Mr. Olympia number 15, ridiculously weak. Like, for his size, it's sad to see what he lifts. But only when he moved to Kuwait, he's actually started to train harder, train heavier, and that's when you could see that his density of muscles is completely changing now. So there is no ideal percentages. It's kind of need to be everything taken into consideration. Your fitness levels, your ability to tolerate loads, your ability to recover from heavier loads, lighter loads, and whatnot. Truth be told, you're gonna get quicker results if you can control heavier weights. That's just how it goes. But if it compromises you to the point where everything is aching, and by that I don't mean muscle, I mean like shoulder start to ache, elbow, knee, whatever the hell you need to pull back and you just need to use lighter weights. That means your ability to take inflammation away from those joints is piss poor. You need to get more reps in to get more blood into those joints, just to get away from that. So there is not a single perfect template out there that is something that everyone should be following. So this is why it's so important for you to work with somebody who can figure out and unriddle the mysteries that's your body. So what I do with my body, I wouldn't ask anyone else to do, because not a single person I know would be able to not only physically but mentally diet on jump fucking sandwiches. So they wouldn't be able to do that. Not a single one person I know would be willing to train 5 hours a day. I would do that in a heartbeat. I would just not care. So there is not perfect percentage for anything. But my personal approach is phase-like. So I will determine how, like, I collect hell of a lot of feedback from all my clients. So their heart rate, their recoveries, their sleep, how they mentally feel, and all those kind of things. And only when I got all that in line and tracked for a few weeks, I can start and be more precise. Okay, I think they could do something similar to this or something similar to that. They are ready for this or ready for that. Strength plans may include working at 40% to 70% of their 1RM for a couple months, or working above 80% for a couple months. It always changes depending on where they're at. So, and it's something for you to figure out. If you can't afford anyone to work with, you'll take some learning to work it out. But just don't overthink everything. Just take one plan at a time. Track everything you do. Track how fit you are, how healthy you are. Track your blood test results and all those kind of things, and create a feedback on what worked for you and what didn't. Don't try to find the one answer that fits it all. There isn't one. And bear in mind that every single book on periodization and whatnot is a lot of people just winging it, because there is now not one definite answer for how to do stuff. It's an amalgam of things, and its ability to translate your response to stress, your response to training, your response to food, to get the most out of it. But as such, there is not a single perfect plan for anyone out there. It's just how well you can translate the feedback of your body into what you could be doing to maximize where your body is at the moment. Next, how to grow bigger calves. Get fat. Easy. Genuinely, the fatter you are, the more stress you put on your bloody calves, and the bigger they're gonna grow. Should I train them more often? Better quality of exercise, execution, stretching, blah blah blah. Well, you don't give yourself a fighting chance if you're not heavy. That's first. Second, you don't give yourself a hell of a lot of improvement if you only train them in one way. You know, I really prefer doing a lot of jumping, bouncing and whatnot, just to prime them for like that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, do very strict reps. Holds, squeezes, stretches. I would never train them in exactly the same way for too long because they're extremely adaptable because you use them every single step of your life, literally. So they need new stimulus relentlessly. If you don't put the stimulus on your calves by just doing the same exact thing every single week, you're not going to get far. Truth be told, I used to have calf days, like 45 minutes just training calves. Every single exercise I could physically imagine, every single technique I could physically imagine, and that's when they start to grow. But on top of that, I was also cycling every single day for around 20 kilometers for, I do believe, over 10 years. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to just get to school and just work and all those kind of things. So to grow calves, you need to understand, do you actually train them? A lot of people just throw them at the end of the training session once every 2 weeks and do same exact weight, same exact technique, and then they wonder they don't grow. It's not going to grow. It's like, I don't know, learning a language and only writing down same exact sentence every single fucking day for the rest of your life. You will never learn that language. Same with your calves. If you do same exact shit every single day, every single week, every single year, it's not going to go. You need to find what works for you. You need to find, maybe you haven't done any like fast twitch work, maybe you haven't done any slow twitch work, then understand your gastrocs and soleus are completely different muscles. You need to train them from different angles, changing your foot positioning. It's not as simple as it is. Like everyone looks like, oh, it's calf. No, so you have your soleus, your gastrocnemius, and you have your lateral medial heads, and all of them need to be hit completely different. That's why I think it really helped me when I had a calf-based day. 45 minutes just training calves from every single angle there is until I could not walk, and that would usually turn into excruciating pain for 2-3 days afterwards, but it did the trick. So bear in mind, my calves are probably bigger than my arms, and my arms used to be my quads used to be smaller than my arms. So yeah, there is that. Write down what you're doing and how you're doing and what has worked and what hasn't worked. It's always figuring out what works for you. There is not a single thing that's for definite. And also realize, is your calves kind of physiologically set to grow? Is it low attachment or high attachment? You know, sometimes you just don't have it. You just don't, and you can do whatever the hell you want, and it's not going to go anywhere. I think bright example would be Dennis Wolf. Well, Dennis Wolf had a nerve injury in his calf. Jamie Johal, look him up. Ridiculously big dude, but he'll never have big calves. It's just not built for calves, unless he starts jobbing some synthol in his calves. So if you are one of those extremely unfortunate guys, yeah, sorry. But most of the time, it's just you haven't really pushed them hard enough to actually develop calf to begin with, and find what you have actually done and find what else you could be doing, and start training them as calves, as a muscle, not as some little accessory. How do you develop empowering workout rituals? That came naturally. It just came from watching my dad, how he would get shit done. You just tell yourself, I need to get it done, and you get it done. No, but in reality, it's reflecting on everything that's been good. I was fortunate enough to get drills that in my head from very early age, where you just sat down and you talked about it, and whatever the hell you were trying to do, you did not do anything that you would not believe that you can do. Simple as. So, and that stuck with me, you know, and now I don't just think about it, what I could do and what not, but I also look back on what kind of mood I was in at my best, what did I listen to at my best, what did I eat at my best, and so on and so forth. Like, a lot of people have these habitual, what's the right word for it now, dependencies to have good workout. Pre-workout drink being one of them. I don't take much supplements, if any, and but a lot of people can't train unless they have had pre-workout. I've had guys coming in the gym. Obviously, I would not work with someone fucking as stupid as that, but I have seen guys working in a gym who walk in and say, "Oh, I forgot my intra-workout drink. I can't train today." And you just look at them, you fucking pussy, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so how to develop is... how did I develop it? It just came. I never thought about it as such. I only figured out that I have it probably 10 years in. So I literally, I don't even know why I did it, but when I started training, I still have my first ever diary. When I started training, I took a piece of paper out and wrote down, this is how it begins, before even going to gym. And that was it. Like, I wasn't thinking about, I'm going to do 6 weeks transformation. There was no such thing at that time anyway. But I just wrote down, I took every single measurement of my body. It's just very fucking funny to even look at it. I think I do believe my quads were some 40 something centimeters. That's sad. Like, pathetic. My calves are 50 something. My calves are bigger than, like, well, my arms are 50. So my biceps now is bigger than my quads used to be. Whereas my quads is probably one of my strongest body parts. And then I printed out labels to stick on my wall. So first thing what I would see when I open my eyes in the morning would be weakness is unacceptable in front of me. And then a lot of different phrases. I used to have them somewhere, and I don't know where they are. I might have been them. I hope I haven't, but yeah. So I did not develop them on purpose. It was just something that was in me, and most likely it was just from observing my dad, because he was just so hard-headed fucking asshole that you could not tell him, no, this is not gonna work. If he started doing something, he will fucking finish it. So, and that's just something that stuck with me. Oftentimes I would look at him and think, what the fuck are you doing? It's not gonna get anywhere. And lo and behold, he gets it done, and I'm like, shit, okay, if you stay persistent, you're gonna get your shit done. And that was just it. So I was probably just lucky being around someone that showed me how to do things instead of trying to teach me or whatnot. And this is one of the skills that I really have. I believe that it's one of my strengths, that I can look at something and see it in completely different perspective and make it more efficient. This is how I learned how to actually train properly for bodybuilding, because I had an opportunity to train with Gary Lister, 6 times Mr. Universe, IFBB Pro, you name it. He is probably not the most efficient when it comes to training someone, but he's extremely precise when it comes to training himself. We weren't talking much or doing much, but I was just observing how he trained, and I could take away every single thing he was doing, how he was moving his body, how he was talking to himself, what he was thinking before sets, how he was focusing himself during sets, and all those kind of things. And you just take what works for somebody, extract all the good things, completely forget all the bad things, and run with it. And that was how I developed my empowering rituals for training. So just visualizing things, talking to myself the way I know I need to. I won't go and start bloody reading news on my way to gym, you know, and some kind of bullshit checking Instagram and whatnot. I always have my phone when I train, because I log all my training sessions in my phone. But at the same time, as soon as I start my set, I just switch off, and that's something that I never consciously worked on, but I realized I have it only a couple of years ago, whereas I was using it for like 10-15 years, and that's what I really suggest to everyone else to do. Realize that when people tell about things that they have different personalities and whatnot, you oftentimes hear this person, there's that person saying that, yeah, but it just wasn't me. Yeah, probably it was truth, because if you don't have different personalities for different tasks, you're not going to be very efficient at anything. You know, you need to be different personality for when you train, you need to be different personality when you speak to your girlfriend, you need to be completely different personality when you hang out with your mom, you need to be completely different personality when you talk to some of your friends, or the way you are acting at work. That's just how it is. If you can't switch from one to another, you are very inefficient. Like, you can never be at your best. It's same like, how can I compare it? It's like learning different subjects in school. For math you need to be one mindset, and then for literature you need to be completely different. Same exact thing applies to when trying to be efficient at any task. Any task requires you to have empowering rituals to develop the best outcome of that. So if you go out with your friends, you probably have empowering rituals to have the best time with them, like the way you dress, the way you talk, your pre-drinks, and whatever the hell you want. You have a certain set of things you go through to have a really good night. If you break those rules, break those rituals, and for example show up in a pub with your mates with some mucky boots and bloody boogie hanging out of your nose and whatnot, it's not going to go down very well. Unless you're that kind of person who just does it all the time. Then yeah, all power to you. Your standards are absolute shit. Anyway, so last but not least, front box squats. All about it. This is a tricky one, because all about it I could spend days, but I really think it's more about why I put them into my training plans quite often. First things first is, that's one of those exercises, is actually realign your hips and your rib cage in a position that you should have when you squat. So when I would ask someone to do a box squat or low bar squat, high bar squat, whatever, it's easy to have that anterior tilt in your hips and just ruin your hips from doing that exercise. When you do front box squat, your hips and your lower partial rib cage need to be in sync. So they can't be like this, or you're just gonna fucking tip over. So you're gonna fix up your biomechanics to begin with. I find them extremely efficient for proprioceptor development. Another thing is they do improve your upper back strength, which is very important for such thing as bench press and deadlifts, which is something you can't really do with just regular squats. You just can't. And lo and behold, all the best strength athletes have extremely efficient front box squat. You want to admit it or not, Big Z, 400 kilo front squat. Jesus fucking Christ. Mariusz Litis, he squats 300 something kilo front squat. Nathan Diashev, UK best bodybuilder. I have seen him squatting 290 kilos in front squat. Fucking insane. So I love front squats for multiple different reasons, but predominantly it fixes your posture, it fixes your pelvis and ribcage reference points, how you should be feeling, and then you can translate it later on into actual squat. Your core is kind of fixed, so to speak, into a position where you kind of get the breathing right, and it's just generally really good exercise for everything. Your center of gravity changes as well, so your power development can be much more efficient, and it does not compromise you in any way, shape or form if your limb length is different to another person. So what I mean by that, if your femurs are long or short, it's going to change completely the way you squat, whereas for front squat it doesn't matter that much. So you can still develop a reasonable amount of strength, reasonable amount of core strength and endurance without overthinking where you should be placing your bar to begin with. And once that's there, I do find them extremely good for like overall strength conditioning and joint integrity building, and that's that. So there are many things why I like to do them, but these are just few that I find people don't do and don't take too much. How can I even explain? Don't put enough emphasis on in doing things that they could be doing to improve something else, which is usually when I talk about general fitness preparedness training, that people misunderstand is that you need to do something specific just to improve that. So for example, if you play basketball, general fitness preparedness should be basketball drills. Nah, not really. You should be doing something that's completely unrelated to what you actually do. But if you do them, it improves what you're actually doing. So, like hypertrophy training, what I do now is to improve my ability to build muscle. And you can look at it weird, and why you're jumping around, why you're flopping about there on one leg and doing these jumps and rolls and doing these timed sets for like 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and next exercise is 1-2 reps, and it just makes no fucking sense. Yeah, it makes no fucking sense to you because you have never trained in periodized way whereas I try to develop my physique, my body, my health. I'm not trying to develop just one-dimensional approach and let my body be overpowered in this one dimension so that everything else falls apart. I'm not willing to do that. And the more I observe professional players, professional athletes, professional whatever the hell you want to name, people in any kind of sport, the more I see those who are taking care of their ability to be playable, ability to move well, are more efficient in their specific niche. So the more overall work you can do, the more specifically efficient you can become. So, and on that note, I'll wrap it up. God knows, 40 minutes again. How did I get this far? Anyway, leave some comments, drop me messages. I post on stories on Instagram a few days before I try to record this for you to send me some messages as well. Ask me questions. Don't DM me because I can't catch up with all that. I know, weird. And don't message me on Facebook. I don't have flipping Messenger. I don't use it. I only have it on one of my old laptops that I rarely use it now. So if you send me a message on Facebook, most likely it never gets to me. I never will. Stop doing that. And I'm banned on Facebook as well, more often times than not. So, freedom of speech and whatnot. But I'll leave you on that, and I'll speak to you next week.